we're going to make some of the best, in my opinion, chocolate chip cookies. I've done several things to change them from just that traditional back of the chocolate chip bag recipe, and it's gonna take longer than a normal chocolate chip cookie. But it's worth it. It's totally worth it. I promise you it's worth it. There are a lot of other recipes that are like world-renowned recipes that also require a lot of extra time, even if it's just like chill time and not necessarily the time that you put into a recipe. Every single one of them is worth it. So I hope that you guys will join me on this journey. For those of you who are cooking with me today, welcome. I'm really excited. I don't have my chat up yet, so I cannot see anything that you are texting to me if you are trying to chat with me on YouTube or on Twitch. So I apologize. We will get that set up in just a minute. The recording for YouTube is not being saved. This is just us hanging out for a little bit while we get people in here. And I will be able to comment and have a conversation with you in a matter of minutes. I guess for those of you who are here, super on time, and you are going to be cooking with me, we're going to be making toasted milk powder today. And it is kind of a running joke among my community, and especially my Patreon members, that I talk about toasted milk powder way too much. But in my opinion, it is the panacea to all things baking and to some things cooking. And I am obsessed. I want everybody in the world to be using it and to just like kick brown butter in the butt and move on. And it does take some time to make. I like to make it in bulk so that I can kind of use it for a couple of months at a time, and I don't have to kind of keep remaking it because it takes so long. And we are going to talk about the science, we're going to talk about the flavors, we're going to talk about all of that while we are making it so that you're not just listening to dead air, because it takes somewhere between 40 minutes to an hour to toast it properly to get the flavor that you want. Yeah. So I guess, how is everybody doing today? Again, I'm going to try to get in. Honey, can you help me with the chat? We didn't set it up. I guess I can open up my YouTube and at least kind of see that. We are live. Let's see. I can open up YouTube, but I don't have Twitch open. Pop out chat. Hey, Tiago.
Responded to.
Ooh, it's your last fun of spring break. Aw, I love mother-daughter time. That's great. Well, welcome. YouTube looks good? Cool. Cool. You need space? This is my husband. For anybody here who doesn't know him, this is my husband, Chuck. Chick. Happy Sunday.
More readable.
Here, let me move this stuff out of your way so that you have some more space for that mouse. Okay. I decided we were going to do a later stream today. And the next one for May, we're going to be doing cocktails so that we can just like hang out and relax and learn about some cocktails that include tequila and mezcal, because the first Sunday of May is Cinco de Mayo. So I figured that we could just hang out together. And that one is starting even later. That one's going to start at 2 o'clock because my poor Pacific people, I want to make sure that it was not 10 in the morning for you if you were going to make some cocktails with me. Do I have to watch an ad? That's funny. Why do I have to watch an ad?
Not signed in.
Oh, not signed in. Okay, that makes sense. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yay. Hey, Shimmy. Hmm. Okay. I hope everybody who's cooking with me, casually get if you don't already have your ingredients out, double check your list of ingredients. Make sure that everything's out. It is okay if you are just now taking your butter or eggs out of the refrigerator like I am. I will give you guys some tips to help get it softened faster so that it'll be ready by the time we finish doing our toasted milk powder. No worries. Nothing needs to be done. This is a full-on cook-along. Nothing is measured. Nothing is ready. We're going to just do this together, okay? You good?
Too tall. I hurt my wrist.
Poor baby. There you go. Hey.
Do you need your recipe here as well?
Nope.
Oh, you got to print it out.
I printed it out. I've got all of my measurements ready.
I'm going to go Carrie's YouTube live for the recipe. Exclamation point recipe.
Ooh, you're going to do cookies today? Plan was to do sugar with chocolate frosting to look like the eclipse. You're making eclipse cookies? That's awesome.
Oh.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, have fun with that. That's cool.
Tiago, make sure to click the live button on the YouTube live stream. YouTube likes to play it like a video. So if you like alt tab away from it and come back, it'll just pause it. When you alt tab back into YouTube live, it'll pick up where you left off.
Okay.
So,
so if you bounce between Twitch and YouTube, it like messes it up a little bit.
Yeah, click live.
Got it.
If you bounce anywhere, YouTube likes to pause sometimes. So just click the live button near the bottom of YouTube. Yo, what up, nerd? Okay.
Okay. You ready to get started? It's been about 7 minutes since we were supposed to start. I feel like we're at a good place. Hopefully we should have everybody in here. And like I said, we are going to be toasting milk powder for quite some time. So I feel like if they come a little late, it will be okay. I'm going to do this not super loudly. Fair warning, this does make some noise. I'm gonna hopefully, if it's on like a low enough setting, it won't be too bad, which I think will be okay. It may tell me that it's too hot, and I might have to go to my actual stovetop behind me. Hopefully that won't happen if it's on a low enough setting, again, between the noise and then the heat. Sometimes it decides, like, you've been cooking on here for too long and I'm done. And it will literally say hot, like too hot or hot, and shut itself off mid whatever I'm doing. So I may need to move back there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Is it okay to use nonstick? Yes. Just make sure that if you are using a nonstick surface that you are also using silicone. You do not want to scrape off the Teflon or whatever layer of whatever they threw down onto it to make it nonstick. You don't want to scrape that up because you don't want that to end up in your food, and you don't want it to no longer be a nonstick pan. So protect your nonstick pans. Use silicone when you are scraping around in them, because this does, the toasting milk powder does involve some scraping sometimes. Again, I will give everybody pointers on that as we proceed, but just be nice to your nonstick surfaces. Yes, chef. You got it. Okay.
So before we start the video recording.
Yeah.
Say that now.
Yeah.
Before I start.
Okay. Whew. Okay. And then you said we're gonna start the what do you say? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, easy. Okay. Thank you everybody for joining me. We are about to start the segment that we will end up turning into the YouTube video. Right now, this is just a live, both on Twitch and on YouTube. And I'm gonna just do a little bit of an intro as the start, so that will be the actual start of the video that gets posted on YouTube for the long form content. And then everything else will just be as is until we end it. Sometimes I like to hang out a little bit after I like do an outro and do like something a little bit more formal to end the video, and then I'll hang out a little bit more, answer any last minute questions, and then we'll go ahead and end the lives. So I guess let's go ahead and get started. Okay. The apron says a little spoon. It does. This is a Christmas present. Isn't it great? Oh, wrong side. It's a Christmas present. Love it. I actually have like 3 aprons now that say little spoon on them. Right here. Yeah, you said that about the last one, that you were like, I love that it's got a little black strap so that you can't see the mic. The mic's right here. It doesn't look like I'm wearing one. It blends in. Yes. Ragdoll, it does. But there are things that you can do to fix that or to go a little bit faster. I'll talk about it. We'll talk about it while we're toasting. I don't want to start talking about that now, because if I start talking about that now, then you guys get to listen to dead air. And I could probably talk about toasted milk powder for an hour. I feel like I could do that. So I could do it. Okay, well, let's get started. Ready? Yep. Hi, and welcome to the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today we are going to be making chocolate chip cookies, but they are special because we are going to add something that I am obsessed with and have been obsessed with for years now, toasted milk powder. Takes about an hour to do the toasted milk powder and then maybe 15 minutes to mix up the cookies. And then they chill for 24 hours. I promise it's worth it. They're delicious. And let's go ahead and get started now. Let's go. Okay, so first things first, I have butter that came right from the refrigerator. If you want to go ahead and take it out a little early, you are welcome to. It needs to be just softened. We're not going for refrigerator cold because you need to cream it with sugar later, so it has to be the proper texture, and you are not looking for room temperature butter. That is far, far too warm. If you were to stick a thermometer into your butter and it's softened, it should be somewhere around 64 degrees Fahrenheit. I apologize, I don't know what that is in Celsius. For any of my friends who use metric, please go ahead and pop that into the chat so that when people are watching this, they can see what that is. But it'll be somewhere around there. Room temperature is going to be 68 and higher, and then your refrigerator is obviously much colder. It'll be probably somewhere in the 40s. Yes, Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this big block of my European style butter, because I also really like European style butter. It's got a much higher fat content, which I appreciate. I think it just makes everything creamier and richer. It tastes better. And I'm going to break this up into the proper amount, okay, which I need a knife for, because I can't break this off with my hands. It'd be too big. We are going for 12 tablespoons, or 170 grams. It's about 3/4 cup. Now this is gonna sit out. I told you guys earlier that we add toasted milk powder to these cookies, which is basically like brown butter on crack. It's super concentrated flavor of a brown butter. So basically, when you toast butter for brown butter, you're toasting the milk solids in this butter to get that really nice, rich, caramelized, toasty flavor. And now we're just going to actually toast milk solids, because that's what milk powder is. It's just the milk solids. And then that dry ingredient can get added to anything. Here I am already talking about it. Let's see. So I need 170 grams. Look at that. Oh my God, I'm amazing. 170 on the dot. With only one extra slice. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, this brick, this big, it might come to the correct temperature while we are toasting the milk powder, because we do have some time. But I would prefer to like absolutely make sure that it gets there. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just separate these pieces out a little bit so that it's not one big brick. The more surface area that you have surrounding your pieces of butter, the more that room temperature air can kind of suck some of that cold temperature out of the butter, and it will soften faster. So we're gonna just do that, and we're gonna set that aside. That's our butter for the recipe. And we're gonna go ahead and get started on the toasted milk powder. Is everybody with me? Yes, today's cookie day. Cookie stream. Yeah. Okay, everybody's with me? Good. Okay, let's do some toasted milk powder. Now you can use, I actually brought out a bunch of different milk powders, and I'm going to talk about them while we are making our toasted milk powder. Today I'm just using Nido, okay? It's just dry whole milk. I like using the whole milk powders more than I went and purchased this one. I purchased this one literally for the stream because I don't usually keep this. So this is non-fat, but I do prefer whole milk, and that's what I'm going to be using today. It is a little bit trickier to toast, but I think that the flavor and the added fat and the added protein are just better when you're using it as an ingredient. Okay, let's do. Now I'm gonna toast more than I would. I don't know why I put this on a scale. I'm gonna toast more than what I would normally toast. Like I said earlier, I like to bulk cook this. So like you only need, I believe it's a 1/4 cup for this recipe. I'm obviously toasting more than that. So let's do about there. If you toast less, so if you toasted like the exact amount necessary for a recipe, it will go faster. Just because, again, like more surface area, it's not like big clumps. You're not trying to get like the inside heated just as much as whatever is touching the pan. So if you have like a single layer on the pan, it will toast faster than it would if you were not doing it in bulk the way I do it. But I like, again, like I said, it takes so long to make it that I like to cook it in bulk. And I just kind of add that time in, and then I can make this recipe. So like this is already pre-made. Well, I guess since does he have the camera on? The side camera? You do? Okay, so it's on this. Actually, let me get a big guy here so I don't pour pre-toasted milk powder into my milk powder. I don't know if you guys can see. So like this is essentially what it's gonna come to. So it starts at this color, it's gonna go to this color. And I can just grab this right out of my pantry and toss it right into my cookies. So I could essentially make these cookies exactly as long as it would take to make a normal batch of cookies, obviously minus the chill time. But I can make this anytime that I want without having to do this because I've kind of pre-made this pantry item that I then keep. Okay, so let's get this going. We're going to have the power down at like, I think like 2 on this guy, maybe 1.5. For those of you who are cooking this on your stovetop, you're gonna want it to be at like medium low as it heats, and then probably turn it down closer to low as long as it's toasting, and as long as you can see that you're getting some brown color underneath in the bottom, then you're gonna be good to go. You don't want it to be too hot, because if it gets too hot, then it will actually start to burn, and the pieces will really start to clump and they're harder to break up later. But it's just a gentle toast. We're just relaxing. This is kind of like if you were making a roux or like some kind of gravy or something like that. Like you just stay here, live in this space, listen to an audiobook, do what you gotta do, and just like hang out at your stovetop for a little bit. For somebody who was concerned about how long it took earlier, you can do a plant-based milk powder, and it will toast in 15 to 20 minutes. Now, it's not going to taste, obviously, exactly the same as if you had a whole milk or a non-fat, like dairy milk powder. And it won't give as much of that textural difference. It will help a little bit, but it's not going to give it as like dense of a center as it would if you were using milk powder, but it's an easy substitution if you wanted to do something faster. If you wanted to just like make it all in one go and make it and go faster. I prefer using coconut milk powder. Here we go. I got this at Walmart. You probably can get this at Walmart too, hopefully. Let's see if we can see that there. Wait a minute. I can't see that. Can you read? Can that be read? Yeah, okay. It looked like the ingredients, because I'm looking at a TV that's like across the house, and it looked like I was showing the ingredients, and I was like, where's the camera? And it's up there. I was like, it doesn't make sense that it's showing the other side. I just couldn't see it. You can read it? Okay. So this is sold at my Walmart. You can probably also get it at like a Whole Foods or something like that, where they have like specialty or like a lot of variety of like flours and baked good style ingredients and things like that. Milk powders. Yeah. So you've got this. This I got on Amazon. It's oat milk powder. You could use this. It's also fairly high in protein, but it's not high in fat. So that's kind of where I said, like, you're not going to get the textural addition that you would if you were using even like a coconut milk powder or one of our dairy milk powders. So the cool thing about toasted milk powder, and just milk powder in general, honestly, this is actually, I'm pretty sure that it's been talked a lot about in the press. Christina Tosi from Milk Bar uses milk powder in her cookies. And a lot of professional chefs and bakers will use milk powder in their like cakes and things like that. And the reason is because it adds extra protein. And when you add extra protein to a baked good, it creates extra structure to your cookie. So you get better rise, you get like a better, softer texture. It allows for better hydration of your flour. There's like a whole bunch of different stuff that kind of goes into it. And so in cases where you want to have like a richer, denser, softer, gooier kind of texture, then adding milk powder is gonna immediately give you that. So that is that. And then I was like, well, what if we like toasted it and we got that brown butter flavor? So in addition to getting that extra protein and that extra structure, we're also going to get that extra flavor. So I said earlier, when you are browning butter, you're browning the milk solids in your butter, and this is straight up milk solids, and we are going to brown them, and then we can use them in place of that ingredient. So where somebody would have to, there's like, I think there's something like between, I think it's like half a tablespoon or something like that. It's 1 to 2% of butter is milk solids. So you're getting like half of a tablespoon of this in an entire stick of butter, which is a quarter cup of butter. I believe that's like 57.5 grams. Or no, 113.5 grams is a quarter cup. So if you are browning that on your stovetop, you are only getting like a tiny bit of those toasted milk solids. This way, I can add a quarter cup, 2 tablespoons. Like I can just give that butter, that brown butter flavor, I can oomph that into any baked good that I want to add. Or even, I mentioned I have a kind of like a guide to toasted milk powder on my website, alittlespoon.com, if you are interested in checking that out. You can also add it into like a pan sauce, if you're going to do like the brown butter sage pan sauce that a lot of people really love with like cheese stuffed ravioli and like stuff like that. You can just add this in and give it a little bit extra of that toasted milk powder or that brown butter flavor. And the same thing goes with like topping mac and cheese. Like put it into whatever, you know, crumb topping that you're making, breading that you're making, and it's just going to give a little bit extra flavor. And it's so yummy. It's so yummy. Hi. Hello. This is the first time you've watched me cook on a stream? Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. You had a dream you ran into me in Amsterdam? That would be great. I would love to go to Amsterdam. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other ingredients that I have in this recipe. So I have, not only do I have my toasted milk powder here, I also add buttermilk powder. And there is a specific reason for that. Actually, two reasons for that. I don't have a sweet tooth. Not really. I do like chocolate, but I like dark chocolate. Like I'm not milk chocolate. I'm not super sweet desserts or any of that kind of stuff. It needs to have a little bit of bitterness to it, a little bit of acidity to it, a little bit of spice, heat to it. So something to break up the monotony of just sugar. And so in this recipe, I use bittersweet chocolate, and I also have buttermilk powder. It's not completely necessary to use the buttermilk powder or even the chocolate. Like these could be chipless cookies if you wanted to. You can change it to maybe like a semi-sweet chocolate if you need it on the sweeter side and you don't want to do something that's like up in the 70% of cacao or something like that. You can change that if you want, and you can negate the buttermilk powder if you don't want that. I just wanted something a little extra tangy in the cookies to just make it a little bit more interesting, give it something that was just a little less flat in flavor. And then the kind of nice thing about buttermilk powder, right, is it's got such a high acidity that when it gets mixed with the baking soda in this recipe, it creates just a little bit extra rise and stops spread just that little bit much more. So it kind of has like two different reasons, but it's really not like a big enough deal that you would have a problem with this cookie if you decided that you didn't want to go out and buy that as an extra ingredient and you didn't want it in your cookies. Am I a dark chocolate pepper enjoyer? Do you mean like when dark chocolate is like mixed with like chili kind of a thing? So like, what do you mean? You'll do this next weekend? You don't know if you'd find the powdered milk powder? I've seen it in two different places. It depends on which store you're in. Sometimes it's in the baked good aisle over by like sweetening condensed milk, and then sometimes it's in with like the coffee and where the instant like milk powders and stuff are. If Ragdoll, if you are looking for chocolate bars and you can't find them, you can just use chocolate chips. You can get chocolate chips. I wouldn't worry about it. I like to chop the chocolate just because I think like the little flecks of chocolate and then like the big chunks of chocolate and just having that textural difference in like what they're doing. I really do like that, but chocolate chips are absolutely fine. For me, I like to keep chocolate bars just kind of like stocked in general in my pantry. But if you're doing something that's like a baked good with chocolate in it, like the chocolate chips are going to be fine, or chocolate morsels, or couverture, or whatever you want to call them. If you're doing something that is like relies heavily on texture and flavor of chocolate, then the chocolate bars are where you're going to want to go, because they don't have any of the kind of like shelf stabilizers and like extra emulsifiers and stuff coating them that the chocolate chips do. So like if you're making like a ganache or something like that, then I would suggest that you stick with the chocolate bar. But if you're just adding like chocolate chips into something, or adding just like chocolate chips, like I said, like pieces of it into a baked good, then the chocolate chips are fine. Yes, okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we should be seeing in our pan. So it will clump, okay? It's going to clump. I'd turn your heat down if it's getting like really, really clumpy. You can turn your heat down. You can take your pan off the burner and then break those pieces apart. You want to kind of try to keep it from getting too clumped up and getting like really, really tough, but it will clump. And then I said earlier that the whole milk powder is a little bit trickier because it's just got like extra fat in it. It clumps more than the non-fat milk powder does. And so you kind of have to be a little bit more careful with the whole milk powder than you do with the non-fat milk powder. You've only found powdered milk for infants as of now. That's fine. You can use that. You can use that. As long as it's not like instant formula. If it's instant milk, that's what this is. Whoop. Yoink. Like that's essentially what this is, right? Got a little mommy and daughter on the cover there, on the label. Okay, so I'm starting to see some toasting, and I'm just going to keep scraping and moving it around. Good? Yeah, if you go to like whatever your international aisle is, that's where this one came from. So this one is from the international aisle over by the Maseca, and then this guy came from where my sweetened and condensed milk was in the baked goods aisle. Yeah, if you get worried that you've got like too brown of a color on some of the pieces that are like touching the bottom of your pan, and it looks like, oh, I'm like, you know, get a little, like it's a little too dark, or it's a little too tough or clumped or something like that, just move it off the burner. Just move it off the burner, scrape around without any heat so that it's not, it'll still continue to cook a little bit just because everything is so hot, but it won't continue like cooking the way that it is with whatever is touching that surface. If you take the heat off and you just set it on your counter and scrape until you've got it all broken up, you can go right back to it. And I will say this too, if it does clump and you have a couple pieces that are like, or like a lot of it is getting kind of clumpy, as long as you're not burning it, it's okay. Worst case, you can take this and once it's cooled, you can put it into a blender and then just blend it up and you have no more clumps and it's fine. So like, don't worry too much. It's really just like you don't want it to kind of like be sticking to each other so much that you're only cooking those pieces and you're not cooking whatever is like in between the little, like in the middle of those clumped pieces. Small clumps are fine. Don't worry about that. So you can see like this is already changing color. I say already, we've been talking for about 15 minutes. If you were using the coconut milk powder or the oat milk powder, this would be done. You would be done by now. If you go, and it would be, you want them to be about this color. If you are using them, they are not going to be this dark brown color that I have in this can. If you go to this dark brown color, they will be bitter for the plant-based milk powders. Just keep that in mind. I think if I were going to use another plant-based milk powder, like if I didn't want to use the coconut, because like I understand it would give like that, like an additional flavor that maybe you weren't intending, I think a cashew milk powder would probably be your second best bet for a plant-based milk powder. But you're gonna want it to be this kind of like light, like manila envelope color for the plant-based stuff. And you could, if you really wanted to, this was fine. Like this is a fine color. If you just wanted to stop here and you were like, look, I don't need this to be super intense. Like I just wanted it to be like kind of kissed with that flavor. Then you can go ahead and you can take it off at this color. But I just really prefer it to be kind of as toasted as I can get it. And that's why I cook it for so long. But there is a varying range for sure about, you know, where you like. So honestly, I would tell you that maybe during the course of this, while you're making it, take a little bit out at a time. Throw some on a spoon, let it cool a little bit, taste it. If you're happy with the flavor, just be done. You don't have to go until it's like all the way into this like deep brown color. You've arrived. Welcome. Welcome to the live. Totaled. Who is milking these plants? They are, that's very funny. Actually, what they do is they dehydrate the plants, they grind them down, and then they will dry spray it. So basically what they do is they take the liquid, right? So like if you were gonna make like cashew milk, right? Where you let it hydrate, you take nuts, you take cashew nuts, you hydrate them overnight, and then you blend them, and you, at that point, then you just like strain and you have your cashew milk. So after they've done that process, the people who are making these milk powders, these plant-based milk powders, will then turn around and they'll take that liquid and they will quick dry it. It goes through a nozzle, sprays out into super, super, super fine spray into a warm room, and it gets instantly dehydrated. And then you have milk powders, dry milk powders. Dry them down, dry it down. You hydrate and dry and hydrate and dry and hydrate. So it's just like a constant cycle of hydrating things and dehydrating things. Yep. But see now, like I'm starting to get some clumpy pieces. I'm starting to see kind of streaks of these, like this of dark brown, right? And I'm just going, kind of starting to see that. I might turn this down just a little bit. I also have, for those of you who are interested, and if you really want to have like an interesting tasting cookie that is still good, but definitely more interesting than like the traditional chocolate chip cookie, which is kind of what I'm going for here. They do also sell goat milk powder. Again, this is from Walmart, or at least my Walmart. You may or may not have it at your local one. And it is also, you can toast it. You can toast it. The nice thing about toasting goat milk powder too is that it kind of takes down the like goat milk, like the chèvre flavor, a little bit. So it's like a little bit more muted and mellowed, and it can be quite nice. There's all sorts of stuff. I love it. I love it. But it's just like I immediately can get this brown butter flavor. It's shelf stable. So for anybody who is wondering, once I've done this, I don't like need to use it in 2 weeks. It lasts as long as your milk powder would normally last. So I will dump like an entire can into my pan, toast the whole thing off, and then dump it right back into the can once it's cooled. And I just look at that expiration date for how long I can use it, because it doesn't change it. Does anybody have any questions? If you were, I can add this too. If you are using a recipe that specifically needs you to have like melted butter, right? And you're not going to be like, creaming butter for cookies or anything like that. If you are going to be using melted butter, you can, or like they want you to use brown butter and that's supposed to remain melted when you're using it. You can just toss in some regular milk powder with while you are making your browned butter, and it will just, again, add extra milk solids in. So if you really did want this to be like a single-use kind of thing, and you were using like brown butter in its truest like form, then you can just take some regular milk powder and toss it in. You're gonna put it into the pan about, like once it starts to really foam up, when you're making brown butter, you'll notice like it gets like really foamy on the top. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go ahead and you're gonna toss that milk powder in about that point. So everything's melted. It started to really kind of like foam, and you're gonna notice the milk solids have dropped to the bottom. The extra milk solids will get added in, and then you can go ahead and just kind of do it all in one pan. I guess another. Think, is there anything else that I can add to this? You can add this into any baked good that you want. I really like to put it into banana bread. I also really like to put toasted milk powder into ice cream. No churn or like full on like making your custard ice cream base. It's really good in ice cream. And you can put it, I believe, up to a quarter cup in anything that you want without it super affecting the texture. But I prefer to sit somewhere around like 2 tablespoons, which is about, I think it's like 12 grams. It's like 2 tablespoons. Oh, coffee. Coffee's a great idea. I would tell you to, yes, break up any big clumps. I would tell you to break them up, yes. And this is about done. This is about where I want it. So we can set this aside and we can start working on the cookies now if you guys want. How is everybody doing that is making this at home? Are we about at this color? Are we past this color? Are we not yet to this color? How are we doing? It smells really good in my house right now. If you have, Shauna, if you have really big clumps, but this is the color that you're at, I would tell you just to take it off the burner and set it aside. And once it's cooled, you can stick it into a blender. And then the blender will take care of all those clumps for you. Yours is good, a nice golden brown. Yours needs a tad longer. Okay. Well, I'm happy with this color, but I'm just going to keep going until Lindsay is done. Little less? Okay. I'm going to go until everybody says they're done, or I see that this starts to get a little too dark for my taste, and then I will go from there. You wish the smell could go through your phone? Yeah. This would be a good one. This would be a good one for you to experience. Smell-o-vision, exactly. Okay. And then that's a perfect. Cool. So for those of you who are done with this, what I would tell you to do is take out the amount that you need for the recipe and put it on something that's flat. So like grab a paper plate or just a plate from your house and take it out, separate it from your hot pan and put it onto a plate. It'll cool faster and be ready for the recipe. Okay. Oh, bye, Mom. My mom's in here talking. She's going on a cruise. Bye, have fun. Yeah, I have been told that I talk about toasted milk powder too much, but it's immediate flavor. You can cook it in bulk. It's shelf stable, and this is so much easier than like browning butter every time. And a lot of recipes will have you brown butter and then put it in the refrigerator for 30 to 45 minutes so that it can like reharden, and then you can use it to actually to cream your butter and your sugar together, as is typically how you create the texture for like your chocolate chip cookies and stuff like that. So I'm like, look, I can just make this and then have this in bulk and not have to make brown butter and then put it in my refrigerator. Like, it takes almost the same amount of time. I might as well have a bulk object here or a bulk ingredient here that I can just use at any point, and then I don't have to do that every time because that takes just as long. It is a game changer. And I wish that you didn't have to make it. I wish that you could go to the store and just buy it, but that's impossible. So we make do. And I will keep promoting this for as long as I can, for as long as I breathe. It's so good. Okay. It is straight umami. Are we coming up on a good color, Lindsay? How are we feeling? Okay, you think you're good. Okay, we're gonna turn this off. Okay, I'm gonna set this down. I'm gonna move this out of the way because I no longer need it. Okay. And then I'm going to grab, just like I said, I'm gonna grab a plate. I'm going to put the appropriate amount of toasted milk powder for this recipe. I'm using 20 grams. Oh, hey, 20 grams is 2 tablespoons. What do you know? So I'm going to do that. And then I'm just going to scoop it out. I've got my, my scale here, my kitchen scale. Almost. Okay. So that's all I need. I'm going to spread it out on my plate a little bit. Is she hot or toasty? And then the surface is going to pull the heat from this. And because it's so spread out, it'll cool even faster. So that's what you want. Guys, this is going to be a really fast stream today. Whoop. I did not know she was plugged in. Where is she? Let's see. Okay. Grab your mixers. By now, your butter should be essentially the perfect temperature. Yeah, Shark Tank. If I could, I would. I don't even know where to begin on that one. But I 100% think that it should be a product. I'm going to lose out on a lot of money by telling people about this and not doing something. Okay, move out. We're going to start bringing in some of our other ingredients. I have 2 eggs. We have our toasted milk powder. We've got the butter that we already measured out earlier. I've got some vanilla extract. Nielsen Massey is like S tier. They're so good. I like to use their products for almost all of the extracts and flavorings that I use. We need some sugar, some brown sugar. You can use, depending on, I guess, like how much spread you want. Or how much of the molasses flavor you want, dark or light brown sugar. Either will be fine. If you use dark brown sugar, it will spread a little less than if you use light brown sugar. So it's up to you on what you want to do there. We've got granulated sugar. We've got some baking soda. Yes, I keep my baking soda in a ginormous container because I also use it for cleaning. And then some all-purpose flour. Let's go ahead and get our sugar and our butter going together. You want me to put it closer here? Okay. All right, we're gonna, yeah, I do, because I want to make sure that we're talking about creaming butter. Oop. Okay, let's move this so that you guys can get a good view from the camera. Okay. Okay, so how did I discover toasted milk powder? Honestly, I think I saw somebody using it. I want to say it was in a baked good recipe, but I want to say that they were using it in like the frosting, and I was like, oh, we can do better than this. Like it doesn't have to just be frosting. Like let's think of all of the ways that we can use this conceptually. And so I started adding it into my baked goods after doing research on milk powder in general, and was immediately like sold. And now I live and breathe toasted milk powder. Carrie Laura goes crazy. Yeah. No. Okay. Somebody in chat just said Chuck got a sunburn and it made Carrie think about toasted milk. He doesn't toast, he burns though. See, that's scorched milk powder. That'd be incorrect. Can you use a hand mixer? Yes. Yes, you can use a hand mixer. This is not an ingredient. This is not like doing brioche or something like that. This is just cookies. So cookies, brownies, any of that kind of stuff. Yes, hand mixers. Absolutely. Lip scorched. Okay, we're going to add our butter in. Let's see. Let me do this. You can see if I press, it goes down just a little bit, but I'm not just a little bit of pressure. You can see that I'm making like a fingerprint, but it's not smooshing like all the way through the butter. That's about like for feel wise and visual wise, that's what you're looking for. Okay, so let's knock these into here to get that going. Okay, we're gonna add our sugar in. Okay. You're looking for about 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar, which is about 165 grams. It is a big bag of sugar. I shop at Costco. That is where I get all of my stuff. I have a 15-pound bag of King Arthur all-purpose flour. Okay, we got some packed brown sugar. That's also going in. Okay. And then 50 grams or 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. I like to use unrefined sugar. So like, I guess what you would consider like sugar in the raw, like raw sugar. But I specifically will look for unrefined sugar because a lot of the times if you're doing like a sugar in the raw, it's actually refined sugar that they put a little bit of molasses into. That's what light and dark brown, like all brown sugars, are sugar that has then had molasses added back into it. For refined sugars tend to cause more spread. So you get a lighter cookie, but you also get more spread in your cookies. The unrefined sugar has a higher acidity than refined sugar does. So I find that it does kind of like will puff and it'll give it a little bit like denser of a texture. So I prefer unrefined sugar. You can also use like a demerara or a turbinado or something like that. The only difference being that the granularity in those sugars, because they have larger sugar crystals, they will not dissolve as well into the cookie. So that chill time is absolutely necessary. This cookie calls for a 24-hour chill time. It's a minimum of 6 hours. If you just can't wait, 6 hours would be the minimum that I think that you could do this and get the same flavor and texture advantage. 24 hours is the best texture, but the same flavor as about the 6 hour mark. But if you are using like a demerara or a turbinado sugar so that you have that unrefined sugar, you are going to have to wait the 24 hours because those sugar crystals are going to need time to hydrate and dissolve into the cookie dough. Okay, let's get this started. Brown sugar is your favorite sugar? Mine too. Did my parents let me eat the batter? Yes. I still do that. I know you shouldn't. I still do it. Do I like light or dark better for this recipe? For this, I'd probably prefer dark. It's got a little bit more molasses, which makes it a little more acidic, which means there's a little less spread to your cookies. It makes them a little more dense. I know like raw eggs and then like raw flour are not good for you to eat, but 100% I eat dough and batter, like lick the bowl kind of a thing, or lick the spatula. This is going to mix for 2 to 3 minutes at least, probably no more than 5. I really want this to mix enough to incorporate a lot of air into the sugar and the butter. So it will actually change color into like a really light color, and it's going to soften the texture, and it will actually increase in volume, or look like it increases in volume, because we're adding all of the air into it as we whip it, beat it. We have a beater, we're beating it. Hi, cooking stream, yeah. Is there a hype train? No. For those of the people who are watching this on YouTube, we're also on my husband's Twitch channel right now on the Twitch platform, and people are donating, and it's creating a hype train. Guys. Thank you, everybody. Oh yeah, there are a bunch of different things that all of our ingredients do, and how they affect the texture, the spread, the flavor of your cookies. I definitely, like when I was testing this out and I was messing around with just even like the sugar ratio of granulated sugar to brown sugar, or like white sugar to brown sugar. I tried like a 50-50 split, and they spread like a lot. And just changing up to like a 3/4 of a cup, right? So you want like a cup of sugar, but changing it into that brown sugar gave it a richer flavor. They spread less. So I could then use less flour and have a softer textured cookie, because you don't have so much flour kind of absorbing all that moisture. There's a lot of stuff to work with when it comes to this kind of thing. And then the same thing later when we're gonna add our eggs in a couple minutes, and I've got 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. And so that yolk, again, gives it just using the yolk gives it a richer, denser texture. The white is what causes it to puff and stay light. And then the yolk is what gives it a denser texture. And so instead of using or creating a recipe that uses 2 eggs, I created a recipe that had a higher ratio of yolk in your kind of like egg mix. And it creates just a denser cookie, which I prefer. So, can your wife teach us how to make Girl Scout cookies? They've reached Bitcoin prices. Yeah, Girl Scout cookies. I would love to make I guess I only know the old name of the cookies, though. I have not purchased a Girl Scout cookie in quite a while, so I don't know what the new names are. But I know one of them. Now they're caramel delights, right? With the coconut and the caramel and the chocolate. I would love to make those. And I would also love to make the tagalongs, which is that like shortbread biscuit with the caramel, or with the peanut butter, sorry. Shortbread biscuit with the peanut butter enveloped in chocolate. Yes. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna turn this down. What I want to do now is I'm going to just scrape the sides of the bowl down to make sure that all of the ingredients are properly incorporated. It's really important when you're doing something that involves a batter or a dough to not constantly, but every now and then to scrape down the sides as you're adding ingredients in to make sure that they're all really mixing well so that you don't have like a whole bunch of sugar down at the very bottom that never got mixed in with the flour or any other thing like that. So we're gonna just lift this up. You can see, like, so this is where we started. I guess, let's see if we can move this a little bit more in frame. This way? Yeah. So you can see where we started. So this did not get fully incorporated in. But then I've got this just really light, fluffy texture. This is what you want when you are creaming your butter in your sugar. This is what you want to see. And this is about done. I'm going to go past the camera. There you go. There you go on this side. Just make sure that we're scraping down the sides. We're checking the bottom underneath to make sure that it is fully incorporated. Okay. I'm going to just scrape this down too a little bit to make sure that that gets mixed in. Okay. I'm going to add in my eggs now. Is she using baby formula? It's not formula, it's just dried milk powder. Okay, you've noticed when baking gluten-free, they tend to spread out a lot more. So part of that is a protein problem. So actually adding your milk powder will help. Even if you're just adding milk powder, like if you don't want to do toasted, adding milk powder will help. Because you're losing some of the protein, or you're losing a lot of that gluten, right? Because you're cooking gluten-free, and gluten creates that structure that holds everything together. And so you're essentially getting rid of it. Now, in a lot of cases, the one-to-one is great when you're making like cakes and things like that. But yes, it's going to spread because you don't have as much structure as you would if you were using flour that had gluten in it. So you're going to want to add something that has more protein. And so finding a dry ingredient to add in that won't affect the ratio of liquid to solid in your recipes is a great thing to mess with. So I would tell you yes to dark brown sugar, but I would also tell you to just experiment with milk powder in general. Okay. Let's start doing the rest of our stuff. I'm gonna measure out my dry ingredients and get them into a bowl. Normally I would do that while the butter and the sugar were creaming, but we were chatting, so we're a little bit out of order, but it'll be fine. Ugh. Okay, so when you are doing flour, when you are scooping and measuring out your flour, when you are making baked goods, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your flour is aerated. And the best way to do that is to scoop, pour, and then level off your flour before it goes into a bowl. So let's see. We need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, which is essentially 255 grams of flour. And what I'm going to do is I've got my cup here. For those of you who are imperial and not just, I usually would just dump it in and just like have the kitchen scale on and to weigh it. But we're going to go ahead and do it both ways. So basically what you do is you scoop and you're going to just kind of pour in. I'm kind of aerating the flour in here, scooping, and then gently pouring on top. Okay. And then leveling. And so that's one cup. It'll generally be between 125 and 128 grams per cup. if you scoop right into your flour and don't kind of like gently pour in like this. In some cases, I've seen people will like aerate the flour and then scoop into it. But even that, honestly, I can't even really condone that, because what happens is when you're scooping like this, you're compressing. And so you can end up with sometimes more than 30% of what you're supposed to have in a recipe. And that's how things just get like really dry, because you've got far too much flour. So you definitely want to make sure that you are like aerating, kind of scooping and pouring, and then leveling off your flour. Okay. We need 2, let's see. Oh, it is a 1/4 cup of milk powder. Okay, so I need 2 tablespoons of my buttermilk powder. That's the one that's 20 grams. The toasted milk powder is 25 grams. I apologize. It's a 1/4 cup. I'm going to have to go and get that out of my, get the rest out of my pan. Okay. Okay. So we got 2 tablespoons of our buttermilk powder. A little bit more. There you go. And then got 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I keep walking in front of a separate camera. Keep seeing the top of my head. Okay. 255 grams for the flour. Yeah. Oh, that mine was about 250. That's okay. That's okay. Does anybody have any questions who's making this with me today? Are we all doing okay? We're good? Okay. 1 teaspoon. Okay. And then we need to add our toasted milk powder into our dry ingredients. I 100% did not take out as much as I needed to. It's supposed to be a 1/4 cup. And this is already cooled, so we're still in a good place. Okay. Whew. Okay. So those are our dry ingredients. What goes in the flour? I'm just adding all of my dry ingredients to the bowl. So I've got flour, I've got the toasted milk powder, the buttermilk powder, and baking soda. And then I am also going to add, I'm going to add the salt in here as well. So I need a 1/2 tablespoon of salt. Sometimes I feel like people add salt into their baked goods just because they feel like they need to have it in there, or like the recipe. Like people would be like question the recipe instead of actually like tasting it and adding as much salt as you need. Okay. Got our salt. And now I'm going to just give it a little mix. So I want to make sure, yeah, salt enhances the flavor of everything. And a lot of times I find baked goods are like undersalted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just incorporate all of this together. As I was saying before, right, we're scraping down the sides of our bowl. We're making sure that everything is getting really incorporated here. But the last step which is dumping this into my my wet goods here, happens super fast, right? So like all of the mixing kind of happens on the front end with the sugar and the butter and maybe sometimes eggs. Like you put time and effort into that, and then once the dry ingredients go in, you're just very, very quickly mixing it in. As soon as it's fully incorporated, you're done. Like there's not a lot of mixing. You want to keep the air in there. You want to make sure that we are not kind of like knocking everything down and making it stodgy and dense. So as soon as the dry ingredients kind of go in and are fully mixed, you stop it. Okay. So we have to do all of that kind of the mixing to get everything incorporated to make sure that you don't have like clumps of different ingredients. You do that kind of on the front end here. So you're mixing in one bowl separately, you're mixing in another bowl separately, and then you quickly add them together. We did not use the vanilla extract or the eggs yet. We've not gotten that far. I'm actually going to chop my chocolate right now. So again, that can just kind of get added at the end. I've got the butter and the sugar where I want them to go. And I don't want to keep mixing them until I'm fully ready for it. So we're going to do our chocolate. So I've got some bars of chocolate here. If you want to use chocolate chips, you can use chocolate chips. That is also fine. I prefer using bittersweet chocolate. Again, not a sweet tooth person. If you want, here let's talk a little bit. I guess while I'm chopping, we can talk a little bit about different labels for milk, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, bittersweet chocolate, all of that. So you guys know what you're getting into when you're using them and trying to decide which chocolate you want to use. Like there. So if you're using milk chocolate, you've got some milk solids plus sugar plus cocoa. Your cocoa solids. So that is about 40% cocoa, okay, or cacao. When you have your milk chocolate, if you're going to do a semi-sweet and you're moving out of your milk chocolate, then you're going to have somewhere around 50%. Then when you go into your bittersweet, I guess it's like 50 to 60 or so, you're moving from about 65 up through about, I'm guessing like 75% is a kind of a good frame of reference. A lot of chocolate, like it's very funny the way that like Lindt and Ghirardelli and some of the other companies will like label and give percentages where it's like 72% or 60 or 63 and all those kinds of things. There's really just like a range, and everybody likes to have their own like signature number kind of a thing. But generally, if you're like somewhere in the 60s, somewhere in the 70s, it kind of like goes up from there, right? And so once you pass your bittersweet and you're kind of into just like your really, really, really dark chocolates, it's still considered bittersweet chocolate, right? Because you have essentially like milk chocolate, dark chocolate. It's still up there, but once you're out of your milk chocolate spectrum and you're going into the dark chocolate, so you're going into your semi-sweet and your bittersweet, then you no longer have the milk solids in your chocolate. That's kind of what the difference is you no longer, it's not milk chocolate, it doesn't have milk solids in it. And so it will just get a more intense and bitter flavor the higher that number goes. And you will see recipes out there that do also request like unsweetened chocolate, and that is just straight cocoa. Like there's no or cacao. There is no sugar in that. The sugar is the other ingredient in these. So you have cacao and you have sugar. And as that cacao number goes up, you have less sugar, which is why it is more bitter. I am using a mixture of bittersweet and semi-sweet. I've got more bittersweet than semi-sweet because I prefer, again, I prefer the bitterness. I have a bunch of sugar in a cookie. I don't want it to be just like a straight sugar, but you go with whatever you prefer. If you have a sweet tooth, you could 100% make these cookies with milk chocolate if you wanted to. Do whatever you want. Put some white chocolate into it. The sugar from the dough balances the bitterness of the pure chocolate. Yep, that is exactly right. Should have used a bigger cutting board. Let me do this a little bit. Now you'll notice like I've got a bunch of these little like chocolate bits here, and then I have some bigger pieces. I like that like textural and flavor difference because these guys will melt like right into the dough, and then the bigger chocolate chunks are gonna give you those like really nice pools of chocolate in your cookie. There is a lot of chocolate in this cookie. That was done intentionally for spread. And because I like it that way. But basically, when you mix the chocolate in, right, and you're mixing it into that dough, the more chocolate that you have in a cookie, the less it will spread. Because the chocolate gets like really, really hot, right? And it will cook in like I'm trying to explain how this works. It's a surface area thing again, right? So like if you have really thick parts of like spots where there's like just dough in the cookie and there's no chocolate, it's gonna take longer to cook through that. Whereas if you have a lot of chocolate mixed in and there's like kind of thin ribbons of dough around the chocolate pieces, that will cook faster, and so it reduces spread. So if you go for like a chipless version of this, just be prepared that it is going to spread more than if you had all of the chocolate in it. Toffee bits, yep. And you absolutely could change out the mix-ins. So like if you wanted to do like half chocolate, half toffee, go for it. You can absolutely do that. Yeah, there's a lot of chocolate. Now I'm going to do the influencer thing, and I'm going to set aside some of the pieces of chopped chocolate, and they're not going to go into the bowl with my dough, so that I can kind of place them on top of the scoops, so you get those like nice big pieces of chocolate that are on the top of your cookie scoops, of your dough scoops. I'm just gonna kind of set a couple of these aside. So I have them to put on top of the cookies once I scoop them out. The first time that I tested this recipe out, I put the dough that was like in this bowl, in the mix bowl, I put it directly into the refrigerator to chill, and then when I went to go scoop out the scoops, I broke my cookie scoop, and I I broke like 2 cookie scoops trying to scoop out of the refrigerated dough. So I learned my lesson. And now I scoop right after I'm done mixing, and then the scoops go into the refrigerator. These. And get this scooped in. How are my people doing who are cooking? Chef snack time. Need to make sure the chocolate is a good quality. I call that the chef tax. I get to taste everything that I'm making while I'm making it. It's just to make sure that everything is salted correctly, flavored correctly, right? Make sure you don't need anything else. You're supposed to constantly taste your food. It's the chef tax. Absolutely. One more bar to chop. Okay. Cool. Ooh, pardon the noise. Searching for cookie scoops that are stuck into tongs. Oh, that's loud. Okay. You're in the kitchen, but you're packing and not cooking. That's okay. You're here with us today. Okay. So now we basically have everything ready to go. We're all set. The last of our ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my creamed butter and sugar, and I'm going to take care of my eggs. And now again, I said we are using 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. Chef tax is a thing too, right? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Huh? Sous chef. Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, sous chef tax. Yes. Yeah. If you are any part of the process, you get to enjoy. Okay. So let's go ahead and crack open our egg, which apparently doesn't want to work today. That's fine. Okay. 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. I'm going to get a separate bowl. Okay, so there's my 1 egg. You can do this a couple different ways. You can just dump the whole thing in if you wanted to. Oh. Or you can kind of scoop from thing to thing until you have just the yolk left in your egg. Sometimes I'll just because honestly, it's all about whether or not you care about how dirty your hands are. I will just dump it onto my hand and then just kind of let all of the white fall through my fingers until I have just the yolk in my hand. And then that's fine. When you crack your eggs, please crack your eggs on a flat surface. So you're not pushing any cracks, any shards of shell up into your egg. Cracking them on a flat surface will break that without kind of pushing anything up into the membrane. Flat surface egg crackers rise up. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna get started. We're gonna finish out this recipe. Okay, so we're gonna turn this back on. I'm gonna dump my egg and egg yolk in. Okay, and we're gonna let this mix. I want this to come back to the same visual as it was when it was just the butter and the sugar. So that egg is going to get incorporated and it's also going to get a little bit of air back into it, and it will look the same. And it doesn't take very long. It takes like a minute to get back to that. And then we're going to need, I think it's 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So 10 milliliters. Okay. I'm going to add my vanilla in. She goes. Okay. And again, I'm going to take my spatula here. I'm going to make sure, because I'm seeing a little bit of egg that didn't make it down into the bowl. I'm going to make sure that we are fully incorporating, scraping down the edges, the sides of the bowl. There we go. In. There we go. And this is about the texture that I want it to be. So now we're going to add in our dry ingredients that we already prepped. Okay, you'll see that this is back to being fluffy, that same texture that we had. Where are you? Where do you have the camera? Is the camera on the toasted milk powder? Is it? I can't see. Okay. You'll see this is just as fluffy as it was. So we kind of added the egg. Everything kind of looked a little soupy and a little bit weird, but as that egg emulsifies and incorporates into the dough, it comes back to this fluffy texture. That's where we want it. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my flour in. And we're going to add it on a low setting, a little at a time, because I'm sure a lot of you know if you add flour too quickly, it will puff back in your face. And we don't want that to happen. So we're going to go slow, a little at a time, on a low setting. Thoughts on extract versus paste? I also have to, oh my God, I almost said tomato paste. I also have vanilla bean paste. It is more expensive. I use it when I am doing delicate goods, delicate baked goods that I want to visually see all of those specks. I love vanilla bean paste, but because it is so expensive, I use extract in cases where you're not going to see the specks, and I use paste in cases where I do want to visually see those little vanilla bean specks. Okay. And then that's it. This is done. Okay, I'm going to take the beater off. It's incorporated. Literally like that mixed for, 15 seconds maybe. Once everything was in. You just want to get it incorporated. You do not want to keep mixing. Okay, I'm gonna do this. You will probably, I don't condone this. Please don't do this. I'm totally gonna taste the batter. Please, I cannot fully condone it, but nor can I stop you from doing this at home. Please, I don't want to be held liable for anything that you do in your own home. True. I will, you know what? I'm not going to eat this when the stream is over. Wow. I'm not. I'm saying it verbally out loud. I do not. This is raw flour and raw eggs. And you are taking a risk if you eat it. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of scrape down the sides again. Same thing. Make sure that everything underneath kind of gets pulled around on top and that everything is fully incorporated. I don't see any spots of flour. I don't see any spots of just butter and sugar. And then I'm going to dump my chocolate chips in. And I'm going to mix until that is fully incorporated. And we're just gently, whoops, I said gentle and then I flicked a bunch of chocolate out. We're just gently folding everything in. You don't want to like really mash into your dough because we want to keep that air in here, right? So we're kind of just swirling around the bowl and then scooping from the bottom up. Okay. Okay. Looks pretty good. And now we scoop. Okay. So you can do little guys. I think I said to use a 24, which I never remember where they are on these things. I think it's inside of it. On the, yeah, here. This is a 50. Okay, so this is a number 50 cookie scoop. This one is a 24. They hold different amounts. This is about 1 tablespoon. This is about 2.5 tablespoons. I prefer the bigger sizes to the little one, but I'm gonna do both just for funsies today. The smaller they are, the faster they heat up, the faster they cook through, the less they spread. We'll do a little bit of both because I am 100% going to be freezing some of this dough so that I can then bake them right from the freezer. They bake really well right from the freezer. You're just gonna add an extra minute onto your cook time. If you do check out, like are on the actual website, if you're on at alittlespoon.com and you're looking at this recipe on the website, there's an FAQ that talks about chill time. And I have like brief descriptions of what was going on with the dough, what was going on with the cookie once I baked it. After certain times, I think I did a 20-minute, a 2-hour, a 6-hour. I want to say there was like an 12 or an 18-hour and then a 24-hour. So you can decide for yourself how long you really want to chill it. Minimum for flavor for me would be 6 hours. If you want a perfect, really hydrated, not grainy, dense texture, 24 hours is in my opinion a minimum. She just informed me she's a risk taker and she ate the batter. What did she think? What did your daughter think? We'll risk salmonella for cookie batter. Okay, just gonna keep scooping. Go. Do a little bit of each. Sometimes I just want a little cookie, right? So these are going to get put into my refrigerator. I'm going to cover them up with some cling film, some cling wrap, and I'm going to put them in my refrigerator to chill. And then you're going to want to bake them when you go to bake them. Because we have so much chill time, I'm just going to, I guess, end the stream. I can do a drop bake if you guys really want to do a drop bake right from this, but it will spread because it's not chilled. You can, you're going to cook them For the little guys here, I'd say about 7 minutes. You're gonna wanna be at, let's see, 375 or 190 degrees Celsius when you preheat your oven. And then you're going to put the cookies in. And once the cookies are in and the door is shut, you're gonna drop your temperature down to 350 or 177 degrees Celsius. And you're gonna let them cook. The little ones will cook for about 7 minutes. The bigger ones will cook for like 9 to 10 minutes. If you're bringing them from the freezer, like I said, just add a minute or so onto that cook time. This recipe should make, I think it's between 22 and 24 cookies if you're using your number 24 cookie scoop, the big guy, bigger guy. Okay. They do spread, so when you go to bake them, you're gonna wanna put them, you're gonna wanna have at least 1.5 inches or about 3 centimeters in between all of the cookies so that when they spread, they don't run into each other. And then here, we're gonna do this, right? So this is our influencer trick, right? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put some chocolate kind of right on top of these guys. And a nice big piece of chocolate melted. Okay. Using a tablespoon. Okay. What can I use if you don't have a cookie scoop? Okay. So a tablespoon would work. You're gonna want them to be relatively the same size. So what I would tell you to do you have a kitchen scale by any chance, Sparkle? I know it's kind of a weird thing. If you like don't have a cookie scoop, you probably don't have a kitchen scale, but just out of curiosity, do you have a kitchen scale? Because I would tell you, you can make them uniform in size if you're just weighing, if you put this down, like a tray down or a plate on top of a kitchen scale or something like that, you can just use a kitchen scale to weigh them out so that you know that they're the same size. You do? Okay, yeah. Well, then just put a plate down. Grab yourself like a tablespoon or a spoon of any kind, really. And just weigh them. Here, let's do this for you. So I can tell you about how much each of them are. Get our chocolate pieces on top. Yes. Okay. So let's zero this guy out. Okay. So was that zeroed? Yeah. You're looking at about 45 grams per cookie. In the number 24 scoop, so in the 2.5 tablespoon scoop. If you're going for my little guys here, and you're using a number 50 scoop, that's about 28 grams. So you can just weigh them out, and then they'll all be the same size, give or take. Perfect. Cool. I'm not a sweets person, but I think I want a cookie now. These cookies are good cookies. And that's it. So I'm gonna cover these up. They're gonna go in the fridge. And then tomorrow I bake. Should I do a drop cookie? Ooh, it would take time. How about we end the stream and I do a drop cookie with the people who stay, like we end the video, the YouTube video kind of a thing. Huh? A drop cookie is, I didn't rest it in the refrigerator. So like drop biscuits, you literally make the batter and drop it onto a tray and then put it in the oven. Sorry, was that, I apologize for that insider use of language. Huh? Because I was gonna bake. I was thinking about baking them for the people who are gonna stay not in the video and who are like in the live if they wanted to actually watch that. They are going to spread a lot more because they are not chilled. But we can hang out for like another couple minutes and maybe stick them into a freezer for a couple minutes and then bake them. But it'll be like, if anybody wants to stick around for another 15 to 20 minutes, I can get these a little bit cooled, a little bit chilled, and then get them into the oven. Yeah? If I did it right now, they would spread pretty thin because it's warm in here. These are warm, and none of that butter has solidified at all. So like the butter is really soft, right? So it's immediately going to start spreading when it hits that oven. If I stick these in the refrigerator and I chill them for a minimum of 20 minutes, that butter starts to solidify, and it takes longer for it to melt and spread out. So the cookies will spread less. So it's kind of one of those things where like you kind of minimum want to chill cookie dough for 20 minutes unless it was intended to be a drop cookie, which is right from your mixer onto a pan and into the oven. There are some cookies that are like that. But yeah, these are intended to chill for 24 hours, mainly for texture and also for flavor. But I don't mind. I don't mind making some cookies with you guys after this. We end the video. We can just keep the live going. This is a good question. Can you freeze for 6 hours and then bake, or do they need to go into the fridge? They need to go into the fridge. If you freeze them, it's going to stop the liquid from hydrating the flour because it's all going to be frozen. So they do need to chill, but then you can move them into your freezer afterward. Am I willing to mail them out? No, but if you really want, I could make more of these for GCX if you're going to GCX. Cookie reveal tomorrow. I can take a picture of them tomorrow and post a picture on my Instagram. Rip my fridge space. Oh no, that's why I like scooping them out like this, because they can be like really next to each other. So you can do, if you need to, you can do like 2 smaller trays and then like even have them in like smaller places or like a plate or something like that. So they can like kind of sit on top of something instead of using like a quarter sheet like this, because this can be pretty big. So like if you wanted to use kind of like an 1/8 sheet or even just plates, that would work too. You're also limited on fridge space. Oh, I'm sorry, friends. If you really want to, trying to think about what you could do. If you really wanted to, you could chill the dough in the bowl. Just stick that into the refrigerator, chill for the 24 hours. But like I said, it will break your cookie scoop if you do not let that come back up to temperature. So what you're essentially going to do, and it adds extra steps, right, is if you chill the dough to save your fridge space, chill it, take it back out, let it come back up to temperature for 15, 30 minutes, then do your scooping. If it still feels like it's a little bit difficult to scoop, just let it sit a little bit longer to kind of come back to temperature, to room temperature a little bit. Finish your scoops, but then they're gonna have to go back into the refrigerator for 20 minutes so that that butter can go back to a chilled temperature, and then you can bake from there. So it's a little bit of a back and forth. If you need that fridge space, you absolutely can do that. It's just some extra steps. Okay, well, I guess let me go ahead and end our YouTube video. Do I just keep going? Huh? Do the outro? Oh, God. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for anybody who stumbled upon this video and decided that they wanted to make chocolate chip cookies with me that use toasted milk powder and buttermilk powder and semi-sweet chocolate chips, so that you don't have just the plain old chocolate chip cookies that you're getting from the back of the bag of the morsels. They're a little bit more interesting, a little bit more tangy, You got that great brown butter flavor that we've learned about with the toasted milk powder. And I promise you these will be some of the most delicious chocolate chip cookies that you have had. And I really appreciate you coming on this journey with me and cooking through this recipe with me. These are gonna go chill overnight. These will get put into an oven and baked off tomorrow after we have let them rest. And I will make sure that they end up somewhere on social media. You can see the end result at some point from there. Maybe I'll post something in a comment under this video so that you can see it. You can find me at alittlespoon.com. That is my food blog. I talk a lot about all of the sciencey stuff. So if you really liked some of the science that you heard today, we were talking about gluten structure, we were talking about rise, we were talking about the spread and hydration and all sorts of fun stuff. If you liked hearing that, if it helped you better understand cookies, I also talk about those things a lot in my other recipes and not just with baked goods. So you get a lot of that information. And hopefully it will help you kind of take some of that information into your cooking in future endeavors. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. I want people to feel comfortable in their kitchens. I want them to better understand the food that they're working with. So that's kind of what the blog is about. I would love it if you saw those recipes, went into those recipes, tried those recipes. If you do try a recipe and you really liked it, give it however many stars you think it deserves. Make a comment. If you have questions, you can always comment on my recipes. I do check my comments. I will reply to you if you have questions. Same thing goes for my Instagram. You can find me at _little_spoon. So a little spoon with underscores in the spaces. Recipes are also posted there. I don't do the, hey, here's a picture, comment this and I'll send you the recipe, or here's the picture. If you want to make this, you have to go to my website. I do like to have picture posts, but I also like to put the recipes right there. So people kind of don't have to travel back and forth. It's just something that I do. I want people to have access to these recipes from wherever they can. And I like to share a lot of behind the scenes and kind of just like what's going on and what I'm up to in my Instagram stories. So you can kind of follow along and not just see recipes, but kind of see other aspects of what I'm up to. Thank you very much for joining me. If you liked this video, you can like and subscribe to this channel as well. We do these cook-alongs once a month. Next month is going to be on Cinco de Mayo. I'm quite excited. And I will have more information on my Instagram for that. If you are watching this video and it is old by now, then you can go find that video, the Cinco de Mayo video, and many others that we have done here today. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Okay, so that will be the end of that video. I am going to move these. I'm actually going to move these to, I can do a drop cookie. We can. Yeah, I'm not actually ending. That was the end of the video. So we'll take the live stream and then we'll edit from the intro, that fake intro that I made, to the fake outro that we just did. That will be the length of the video that is going to go up on YouTube as a video. Yeah, now I'm going to actually put one of these into my deep freezer, and then I'm going to do a drop cookie right now. You want to do that? Okay, here, let me get you a plate.
So, what's a drop cookie?
No, I mean, I just say it. It's probably not even, honestly, the correct terminology. Here, you can throw that in the deep freezer.
One?
Okay, fine. You want to do more than one? Jeez, I don't know.
Two.
Two, because there's two of us? That's fine.
Just the two of us.
Okay.
What's
A drop, yeah, it's just like a drop. I just use it kind of in the same way that I would use drop biscuit, where you like mix a dough and then immediately bake it. You don't like chill it or anything like that. I don't know. It's probably not even the right terminology. He's a growing boy. Yeah, so like when you do a drop biscuit, basically like you'll make your biscuit dough, right? And then you kind of just like take spoons and you drop them down onto a tray or into like a muffin tin or something like that, and they bake right then. There is no chill time, there is no whatever. So and there's no shaping. You just kind of like scoop and go. And so I started calling them drop cookies because it's essentially the same concept. There's not a lot of cookies that are like that though. Most cookie recipes will be chilled in some form or fashion for some amount of time. That was fun. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you had fun.
So what about the YouTube video not including the actual baking of the cookies?
Yeah.
I know you gave them instructions to like cook
Yeah.
for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
But they don't get to see you do it because you can't.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing with the gumbo. Yeah. So I've kind of run into situations where like my recipes have a lot of like weird in between times where you're like not paying attention to it and not really doing anything. And I can't do streams with them. So like the things that I have to
24-hour cooking stream.
Yeah,
the
things that I have to do are things that like you have everything right up to the very end and then you take care of that at whatever time is necessary. So like we made gumbo and it's a super intensive process up until the end when it cooks for 4 to 6 hours and then you eat it. So I'm just kind of trying to work around those when it comes to the cooking streams, but it is what it is. Okay, so this is our 375, our 190. I'm gonna go ahead and put these in. They are going to spread. They're gonna be very thin cookies, but I'm hella excited about it. And so we are fine. So it's in, we're closed. I guess I can put my oven. You can see my loved oven that is, we're not gonna call it dirty. We're gonna call it well-loved. So why are you making it even bigger? We don't want people to see this. So I've got them here, and then I'm going to put this on 350, which is 177. We're gonna turn it down, and we're just gonna let those bake. I put the smaller cookies in, my 28-gram cookies, or I guess it was about 1 tablespoon. I'm putting those into here because I know that they have more surface area, and so and they're smaller, so they hopefully won't spread as much as if I had done like the bigger cookie. Not the zoom in. Gluten-free in the fridge. Now to get out the gluten flour and make some gluten ones too. Oh, nice. Size 50 scoops for gluten-free, size 24 for regular. I am so glad that you were scientific on how you were going to separate those so that you knew which one was which, because it is so hard sometimes to keep the differences for different ratios and different things, like when I'm doing recipe development, to keep them separate. That was a good idea. You should pat yourself on the back for that one. It starts, okay, so you preheat at 375, and then when they're in and the door is closed, you can turn it down to 350. And the reasoning behind that, I didn't say this in the live, but the reasoning behind that, and a lot of people do this with like other baked goods, so like if you did like a banana bread or zucchini bread or some kind of loaf or something like that, is it immediately allows for rise, and then you get a crust happening on top on that surface because it's hotter in the oven. And then it will gently cook. So you've kind of created that. You created the crust. It gives it structure. And then that temperature kind of gets lowered to the correct temperature for baking, so that it cooks evenly at a lower temperature. So it's just kind of like a hit of heat to get everything kind of started and like slow down spread and like all those kinds of things. And then it'll kind of go the rest of the way. Yeah. Have I ever baked in high altitude? I haven't, but I have a feeling, I think, so the high baking, or the high altitude baking, I believe is a difference in your leaveners, that you have to like change your leaveners and you have to change your temperature just slightly. But I have not baked in high altitude situations, so I do not know what those are. So I apologize for that, but yeah. Well, this is gonna be a YouTube watch for me for sure. Oh, thanks. Tuned in and missed out on the start. Okay, love some home baked chocolate chip cookies. Good. Yeah, they're good. They're good cookies. They're very good cookies. And now, for those of you who cooked with me today, if you did more than what the recipe called for, you have all of this goodness that you get to use to store and use in whatever you want to use it in. When you were testing this recipe, did I try bread flour at all? No. I did not. So I didn't do bread flour because I used milk powder. They both kind of do similar things. The bread flour is obviously going to suck up some of that hydration much more than like milk powder would. But it also creates a chewier textured cookie because bread flour has higher protein. And so I was adding in protein with the milk powder. So you're still getting just a little bit of that like to the teeth, like an al dente kind of like cookie. Where like these are super soft, right? Because I have less flour probably than I would need. But they also have just a little bit of like just very slight chew when you're biting into them. And it's because of the milk powder. So I didn't want to kind of put both of those things into a cookie. I didn't want to go bread flour and also milk powder. You can absolutely try it. I don't know how that would turn out. And I would probably suggest that you attempt doing like a 50-50 situation with all-purpose and bread flour, or even messing around with like pastry flour and bread flour. If you want it to stay soft, you can probably do like a pastry flour or a cake flour and have like something low protein and then something really high protein and mix those two together. Would that be similar to using malted milk powder? I'm so glad you asked. No, it is not the same thing. So malted milk powder has milk powder, but it also has, let's see, wheat flour and malted barley extract. It does not taste the same. It does not do the same thing. It's got soy lecithin in it. It's got salt and sodium bicarbonate in it. So it's got ingredients like sodium bicarb. So it's got my baking soda is already in it. So you're going to mess up your ratio there. It's got sodium in it. So you're going to mess up your ratio there. The soy lecithin is going to add an extra stabilizer that you would otherwise not have in it if you were just using your milk powder. And then it has the extracts of barley, the malted barley, and it is a completely different ingredient. I would not suggest using this in like as a catch-all in your baked goods unless you wanted that flavor and unless you wanted to really mess around with the science and the other ratios that you would be kind of like messing up. Not messing up, just like you're changing them, right? So you're changing them and you kind of have to think more about that than if you were adding just the straight milk powder. Because there are other things in this. It's not just like milk powder that like once you're adding in those other extracts, it changes everything. Changes everything. Glad I asked. Yeah, I did try that. I'm not gonna lie. Like I put malted milk powder in. I want to say that I was messing around with a my hot chocolate recipe. Are they about done? Not yet. Almost. They're actually really close. I messed around with this in my hot cocoa recipe, and it was okay. I ended up not using it. It kind of like brought down the flavor of the chocolate, and I wanted it to be like a really chocolatey flavor. You said these spread thin. Controlling cook time precisely, keep them from becoming a cracker. Does it chewiness mentioned stick around even if overdone a bit? I mean, controlling cook time is always going to keep something from becoming like a cracker because you're not overcooking it, right? You don't want to turn it. You don't want to cook it so much that it is no longer like soft, and you've burned it. Like we don't want to burn anything. Yes, that chewiness will stick around. My wife did it with pancakes because we thought my son was gluten allergic. Did what? Did the malted milk powder with pancakes? These actually did really good. Nah, I'm sure you don't stink at baking. You just need to do it more often. The hardest thing to learn to do when you're cooking and when you want to like be better at cooking is to learn how to like be comfortable in your kitchen. Being comfortable in the kitchen is the hardest part. And it takes practice, and there's like nothing that's going to fix that other than cooking more. Can these chill for more than 24 hours? Yeah, if you wanted to. I wouldn't chill them for longer than 48 though. Like if you forget about it, they're probably good for about 2 days, because you have to remember that you have uncooked ingredients in there. So you have like uncooked eggs and stuff, and you don't want them to go bad. So it's really more about that than it is about anything else. Don't let me cook. Very close. I'm waiting for the so what I'm looking for, I'm waiting for the bottoms to just get a little bit brown, because I want a little bit of that crispy bottom. Batter in the fridge and the dishes are done. Look at that. Lindsay, that's impressive. Yeah, okay. There you go. Cookies. We did it. Oh, are you trying to get it on the... So here are your cookies. They've just set. This is slightly underbaked on purpose. I prefer underbaked goods. If I can afford it, I will eat them underbaked. But yeah, these are the cookies. They actually didn't spread as much as I anticipated them to. It will be slightly less if you've chilled them, like slightly. Like we're not. It's not going to be like a ball or anything like that. Like it will still spread. It will be slightly less. These were the little guys. But yeah, it'll be, now I just want to eat it. See, now I just want to eat it. I took them out and I know they're not ready yet.
Why not?
This is the best cookie dough I've ever had. The cookies are good too. Just wait. That's really cool though. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I didn't scoop it all out. Are you gonna eat it? Oh, honey. Okay. It looks so good. Yeah.
Oh, no stream Monday. I'll have salmonella.
CC Prof, have you made these before? He said, these are so good, holy moly. I implore you to try baking these. Have you made them before? These are one of my most popular recipes on my website. Yes, you can definitely get some flaky sea salt or some Morton salt, like some finishing salt, and put that over the top of these. You definitely can. Now I have salted these enough that you can eat these without salt, but if you want just like a burst of saltiness, then you can definitely do the salt on top. Absolutely. And I have done that. Your first time. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. I'm the weirdo, doesn't like chocolate chips. Salted nuts all the way for my cookies. Okay, nice. You can do that. You can definitely put some like pistachios, like chopped up pistachio into these cookies and do like a pistachio chipless cookie. Do I use regular salt? I use Diamond Crystal kosher salt. I use their regular like table salt, like I guess I'll call it table salt, just their regular kosher salt. They recently, like in the last couple of months, came out with a baking kosher salt. I don't use that one. But I do use Diamond Crystal kosher salt. I prefer it to Morton. The crystal structure is flakier, so it dissolves faster. It's less, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, because it's flakier, but it's like harder to mess up a recipe if you add too much. So like it's more forgiving. It's more forgiving than the Morton salt is. And Morton salt is actually saltier than the Diamond Crystal kosher salt because of the crystal structure. Morton crystals are more compact, and so it's like a lot more like if you mess up by like doing too much salt or something like that, you immediately know it with Morton salt. So I do prefer the diamond crystal. These are really good adding this to the recipe book. I love warm cookies. Yay!
Okay, bowl's clean.
Is there a written recipe? Don't clean too much of it. I said I wasn't going to eat any after the video. Yes, there's a written recipe. I have the recipe. I think it might be linked. It should be linked in the stream, in the notes for the stream. If it's the recipe,
I linked it this morning.
Yeah. So it should be linked in the notes, and then it's also on my website, alittlespoon.com. alittlespoon.com. You can find it there. You can also find it on my Instagram. My handle is at _little_spoon. So a little spoon.
Okay. Time?
I think we can go ahead and so we're like nicely browned underneath. Huh?
The overhead can got weird.
Oh, okay. You will notice that if you are making these, I guess I didn't realize that you had, so you can see that they're like nice and brown on the bottom. For those of you who made these and are chilling them, you will notice that the color of the cookie will darken as it hydrates and as it rests. So if it starts to get like a darker color, don't freak out about that. That's fine. It's supposed to do that. Okay.
Whoa! Hey.
Yep. Oh man. Okay.
Puppy.
You can. Will you break it for me? Break it underneath the camera so they can see it. You're a little too zoomed in there, babe.
Never.
Go for it. Yeah. Yum. That's really good.
We're good.
So, like, something to note, like, it's the edges that are chewy on the cookies. The center of the cookies are super light. They're just like, it's such a light texture. And I did do that on purpose. Like, I wanted it to be like dense, a little fudgy, but like just a really light texture in the center. And then the edges are where you get that chew. And the way that I did that is by using the extra egg, using the milk powder, and using less flour. So that and like making sure that while I was beating everything together in my mixing bowl, that it was getting well aerated.
Milk.
Yeah, we should have gotten milk. Oh my gosh, good. Okay. Did you bake them? This is when they're still soft on the inside and half, yeah. Yeah, when they're still like soft on the inside and then that chew and that crisp is just at the very edges. It's the best. It's a good looking cookie. It's a good eating cookie. Good tasting cookie. Chocolate probably would have been better than macadamias, but these are so good. So did you did it chipless, CC Prof? And you put the macadamia nuts in instead? Oh, that's okay, Cross. You can always watch it another time. I am sad you weren't here. That would have been nice to chat. A chef's kitchen with no milk? We have milk. Oh, okay. Let me know what you think of it as a chipless cookie. I've heard good things. I've made this as a chipless cookie before, but I just prefer the bitter chocolate in there. You didn't have any chocolate in the house. Okay. Let me know what you think. Okay, we'll go ahead and end. We've baked off some of the cookies. We've got our cookies resting. Everything is done. It's time for me to clean up and go. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm really happy that we had some people cooking along. Hopefully that it was at a good pace for you guys. I'm going to continue to do these and I just have a good time. It's nice. It's just nice to sit and cook and talk about food science and all that. So I hope you guys will join me next time. You're very welcome. You're very welcome to everybody who was here. This is a blast. Good. I'm glad. I'm very glad. It wasn't too bad, right? We talked about toasted milk powder enough while we were toasting it. It wasn't like dead air the whole time. This is great. Good. What are we cooking in May? In May, the first Sunday falls on Cinco de Mayo. So I have 5 or 6 cocktail recipes that I thought that we could just kind of hang out and make. All of them have tequila or mezcal. I believe, I think I have that already scheduled. So if you wanted to leave this video but stay in my channel, you can see the upcoming schedule title, click into it or whatever the heck it is, and it'll say kind of what we're making. I don't know if I already linked to some of the recipes that are available. Some of the recipes are available on Instagram but are not yet transferred to my website. That's something that I'm working on this month. But we are going to be doing a margarita. We're going to do a classic margarita using lime oleosaccharum. I'm going to explain about it. I'm going to try to do some shortcuts so that we can work it during the stream because typically it takes 12 to 24 hours to make. We are going to be doing a paloma. We're going to be doing a Oaxaca old fashioned. We're going to be doing something called the rainwater, which is mezcal, Madeira, which is like a fortified wine, and then citrus, so grapefruit and lime juice. It's delicious, nice and smoky, and just fantastic in general. We're going to be doing a tropical margarita that I don't yet have a recipe for. That's going to be a new recipe during April so that we're prepared for our May stream. And that is going to be it's a tropical spicy marg. It has poblano liqueur in it along with the tequila, and then the syrup that we're using, instead of just using like sugar or agave or something like that, it is a tropical syrup that is pineapple, lemongrass, ginger, and then citrus rind. I like to use limes and oranges, but you can use like kind of whatever citrus rind you want to use for it. And then we're also going to be making a mezcal drink that I had when I was in Savannah at a bar called Artillery. Please go if you're ever in Savannah. It is my favorite cocktail bar probably in the world. They had a cocktail called a Smoke and Mirrors, and that is mezcal, and it's a blackberry shrub with lemon juice, and it is absolutely fantastic. And then sage. They use sage as a garnish. You get like a nice kind of like herbal aroma while you're drinking it, and it's good. Yeah, so all of the mezcal and tequila drinks, just thought it'd be a good way to theme and have something fun to do. So you're sold on milk powder? Good. I'm glad I've converted. I have a convert. I love it. That's great. Tropical spice. Oh boy. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good marg. My husband is asking me how I have all these recipes in my head. You mean like to rattle off what I'm doing or to make them? Both. They might kill you without tapas. Yeah, I think that I'm going to make food ahead of time so that I have food to eat while we're doing all of the cocktail stuff because I too feel like I would need some kind of solid food during the stream. But I know that like YouTube and like digital content, like online content, I can't mix a recipe with like a cocktail recipe with like a regular like food recipe. It's just less enticing for people to kind of like go and do. If they're searching for something, they're searching for like just margaritas, just themed drinks, just certain types of food. So it'd either need to be like themed cocktails or themed food. So I figured cocktails. Drunk chat incoming. Yeah, we'll have a good time. This is meant to be casual. This is meant to be fun. Like I just really want to like hang out and teach as we go and help people make food that they are gonna like. Make ahead tapas homework. You don't have to make. Okay, so now here's the thing too. Because there are a lot of different cocktails, you don't have to make them all. You can just make the ones that you want to make. So you could choose one cocktail and be like, I want to make the margarita, and everything else I'll just watch. And you can kind of go through that with me and just make the one. You don't have to make all 5 or 6 cocktails. You can just pick and choose. There are a lot of ingredients between all of them. So having all of that in your house would be a lot. And even I give information on like which tequilas and mezcals and stuff to use for each of those. And some of them recommend a different style of tequila or mezcal depending on what you're making. So I don't want to burden anybody with that. There will be notes so that you don't have to use like the specific tequila or mezcal that I used in the recipe. There's going to be like notes later, tasting notes on like what are your best options if you don't have that specific one. But still, like nobody has to go out and buy all of the ingredients. That would be absolutely insane. But pick and choose which ones you want to learn how to make or you want to make in general, and you can cook along with me. Make them all. Challenge accepted. No, but then I get less cocktails. Do I prefer Nido? I do. I prefer Nido because it's whole milk powder. The Carnation is a non-fat milk powder. It is easier to toast the non-fat milk powder, but I believe that the flavor and the textural addition, like the added texture bonus, is better with the whole milk powder. So I do prefer Nido. Yes. Okay. We're ready to go. I think we've talked ourselves out. Does anybody have any last minute questions about the cookies? Are we good? My firstborn's here because of mezcal. Oh man. How many can I eat in one sitting? Like I said, I don't have a sweet tooth. I probably wouldn't eat more than 2 cookies in a sitting. You could eat more. You could eat all of them if you tried hard enough. But I personally wouldn't eat more than probably 2. Where do we send a check for a box of cookies in the mail? I do not ship, and you could not pay me. I do not have a business for this. I'm not certified, and I would be legally held liable. That would be a problem. I will not be selling these cookies. If you want some for me to give away, if you are ending, I don't know, I'm assuming you're in the Twitch chat and not the YouTube. So if you are at GCX, you can have one for free and I can give them away, but I cannot sell cookies. What type of milk do we have for these cookies? We drink whole milk in the house. I don't keep lower percentage fat milks, which is kind of silly because whole milk is really just like 3% milk, and everything else is less by like a single percentage of milk. But I think that the texture and the flavor is just so much better. I don't like drinking non-fat or skim milk because I think it tastes like water to me. It's like really watered down milk and I don't like it. 30-minute drive to GCX just for some cookies sounds like a deal. You don't even have to go into the event. Like we hang out by the pool and I just have a container of cookies for people to come eat. How do you get rid of sweet tooth? I don't know. I think you're just bored with it. We had 3.5%. 1.5 is surely like water. Yeah. Only one container. It's a big container. It's a pretty big container. It'll hold at least like 60, 70 cookies in it. So, okay. I think we're done. Thank you very much for coming to the live stream today. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the people who cooked with me. Thank you for the people who asked questions. Thank you to the people who just came to hang out and have conversation and giving up your time today to spend it with me. It's really nice. It's really kind. I love that. I'll see you guys next time. And I don't know if my husband is ending. He is. I see him. Okay, bye guys. I'll see you next time.